Generating traffic and sales can be a challenge for online merchants. But selling on the Walmart Marketplace puts your products in front of millions of customers who shop on Walmart.com. And right now, sellers who join Walmart Marketplace can save up to 50% on referral and fulfillment fees for the first 90 days. So get started today. Head over to marketplace.walmart.com/savings. That's marketplace.walmart.com/savings.
Today's podcast is sponsored by SLI Systems, providers of intelligent site search and navigation solutions. Learn more at sli-systems.com and listen to their interviews at ecommercepodcast.com. Welcome to E-Commerce Conversations, a weekly podcast focusing on e-commerce topics featuring interviews with prominent people in the e-commerce space.
Well, welcome to another edition of E-Commerce Conversations by Practical E-Commerce. My name is Kerry Murdock. Zach Nelson is with us today. Zach is CEO of NetSuite, who is a provider of hosted software solutions that include accounting, customer management, and e-commerce solutions. NetSuite was founded in 1998 as NetLedger. It has since grown to be a publicly traded company. It operates across multiple continents. Approximate revenues for 2008 will be $100 million. It is a leading e-commerce platform for smaller businesses. And Zach, we want to thank you for your time today, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Sure. Zach, NetSuite is a hosted solution, software as a service. Why should merchants make monthly payments for their e-commerce platform when they could purchase licensed software outright and own it?
You know, I think there are a number of reasons. First of all, it's actually quite a bit less expensive to start with a solution like NetSuite. You know, with a traditional software model, you're right, you do pay all up front, but you pay a lot of money all up front to own that software. And with NetSuite, it's really more pay as you go. So instead of paying all on day one, you pay monthly. So there's much less cash up front for the solution, number one. Number two, the second aspect of it, unrelated to the cash up front, is what you mentioned about NetSuite hosting the site. And the beauty of that model is for small e-commerce providers, or even large e-commerce providers, the fact that NetSuite is providing a Fortune 100 data center at essentially $999 a month gives customers the scalability, the security, and the reliability their customers, their online shoppers, expect out of an e-commerce vendor. So they're, in effect, for this monthly fee, getting an infrastructure that far outweighs anything they could build themselves or own themselves.
Interesting. We've heard folks that use licensed carts or licensed platforms, Zach, say the following. They say hosted solutions, software as a service, such as NetSuite, can't be customized so much. You can't customize metadata, tags for SEO purposes. You can't customize the look and feel of a cart. Is that true?
You know, that may have been true 5 years ago, but these solutions, especially NetSuite, have advanced so much in the last 5 years. Every one of those statements actually is untrue. You can basically have your site look like anything you want it to look like. You can build it in Flash. You can build it in Dreamweaver. You can do anything you want to your site from a customization standpoint, and similarly from a cart perspective. I think our search engine optimization is frankly better in most cases than many of the traditional carts. So we have the ability to do SEO, standard SEO information like meta tags and page tags and descriptive URLs. The other important piece of this is beyond the cart, what NetSuite provides is all the infrastructure to actually run the e-commerce business. So there are two pieces to running an e-commerce site. One is obviously getting customers to your site and giving them a good shopping experience. But then the second is, how do you fulfill against the promise of your website? How do you make sure that your inventory levels are accurate, that your pricing is accurate, and that you respond to those customers in a timely fashion? That's all the other things NetSuite provides, the accounting infrastructure, the warehousing infrastructure, and it's all seamlessly tied to your website. So you can effectively deliver an Amazon.com-like experience, if you will, in terms of the real-time customer experience, as well as having a completely customizable site. So in my mind, NetSuite is the ultimate e-commerce platform because it enables you to do everything you want to do on your your front office, if you will, facing the customer, but then it also integrates all the back office tasks that are almost impossible when you have a separate shopping cart, a shopping cart separate from your IT infrastructure.
That makes sense. Zach, tell us about let's step back for a sec. Tell us about the origins of NetSuite. It's a very, very fascinating launch with NetSuite. I believe it was a single conversation is what you had mentioned to me at one point. A single conversation launched both NetSuite and Salesforce.com. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, it's interesting. So our founder, Evan Goldberg, was an entrepreneur, probably like many of your companies, and he came from Oracle and was a big time developer at Oracle. He had created a company. That company ultimately went out of business, as many startups do, and so he was talking to Larry Ellison, the founder of Oracle at the time, talk about what he wanted to do next, and he started to complain about how hard it was to run a business with one accounting system here, a shopping cart there on another system, your sales system, yet another system, trying to tie all that information together to get a coherent picture of your business and to run the business efficiently. And Larry said, well, I have the idea. Why don't you build the system that solves that problem? And that was really the birth of NetSuite. The idea was to build an application that you could run your entire business on. Also involved in those conversations was the founder of Salesforce.com, a guy named Mark Benioff, who decided to go off and build just a piece of that idea, the Salesforce automation piece. And so both of those conversations really sprung forth in interactions with Larry and Evan and Mark way back in 1998. And so you get to where we are today, and both companies have really executed on their visions, I think, very well.
You're an innovator and a pioneer in software as a service generally, Zach, and e-commerce in particular for our audience. What will e-commerce, in your mind, what will e-commerce look like, generally speaking, 5 years from now?
Well, I don't mean to sound self-promotional, but I think it will look a lot like NetSuite. This notion of being able to deliver an Amazon.com-like experience to the customer, not in the sense of the UI, but in the sense of the real-time interaction with the customer, and to enable smaller businesses to look as large as Amazon, to provide all the functionality, to deliver real-time inventory data to your website, to deliver real-time, in effect, financial data, transactional data to your customers, to deliver very personalized sites on a customer-by-customer basis. These are all the things that become very simple to do, quite frankly, when you use a system like NetSuite, because what makes it hard to deliver that experience is when you use multiple systems, a shopping cart here, QuickBooks for accounting, something else for email campaigns. When you start to fragment your data, the experience of the customer on the website also becomes fragmented. And that's why it's interesting. While most NetSuite customers actually start perhaps with a QuickBooks or some other product like that, our e-commerce customers actually start their business on NetSuite because it really does enable this real-time experience, both on the front end in terms of the shopping experience of the customer on the internet, as well as on the back end, how the vendor themselves fulfills that demand. So I think you're going to see that as a major piece of e-commerce in the future. The other thing that I would point to, I think that's important in the future, is it won't just be computers obviously transacting with your e-commerce environment. It will be all sorts of different types of computing devices, and the iPhone's a great example of that. When I go to Japan, people are buying like crazy on their phone. They don't do that yet in the U.S. They don't pay for their transactions that way, but it's coming, and I think that's the other aspect that people have to, e-commerce providers have to take into account, is the different types of devices they're going to be interacting with them over the internet.
Does NetSuite have a mobile version currently? You mentioned the iPhone.
Well, the beauty of NetSuite is because it is a software as a service, it's a browser-based application, NetSuite runs as easily on your iPhone as it does on your PC or your Macintosh or your Firefox browser. So the beauty of these software as a service applications is the ease with which they interact with any type of device. And yeah, so I guess we have an iPhone version, but quite frankly, it's the same as our regular version that you use on your PC because it's really device independent. All you do is open a browser and use the application.
You don't feel it's necessary to render images or render text differently on a smaller screen than it would be, say, on a laptop?
Well, I think that's a very astute point, and I think you will in fact see us and others doing that. You do have to take into account the form factor, and we're doing that. If you know anything about our user interface, the internal user interface to the vendor is a dashboard. So we're beginning to break up that dashboard so that it fits the form factor of the phone much more effectively.
Okay. What does NetSuite cost, Zach, for our listeners that are listening to us here, e-commerce merchants? What would it cost them to use NetSuite?
So NetSuite, it has variable costs depending on your transaction volume, but basically for the entry level e-commerce solution, it's about $999 a month to buy the core functionality, and then I believe it's $100 or $49 per user per month for each internal user that accesses the accounting functionality or the sales functionality. Obviously, there's no charge for customers coming and visiting your website or the customer center or any sort of transaction volume charge. It's just a license model paid monthly.
Okay. $999 a month is a sizable number on the face of it for many small businesses. Could you talk just for a minute about the other side? You addressed this earlier, but the other side of that equation, that is the efficiency that a small business will gain by paying $999 to a solution like NetSuite. I know there are cost savings involved. I've visited with NetSuite merchants before, and they always talk about cost savings with using your platform. Could you address the other side of that equation for us?
Well, there are really two parts to the equation. One is the cost savings. And again, when people look at NetSuite, they have to look at it as more than a shopping cart because it's really a business management system. It enables you to run your website. It enables you to manage e-commerce transactions. But more importantly, it's your accounting system, it's your CRM system, it's your support system, all in a single application. So when you look at that $999 a month, you have to add up the cost of all those systems you're using to run your business, not just your shopping cart, but add up what it costs to buy the hardware to run your QuickBooks your system, your Great Plains system, your sales system, your marketing system, and you will see that costs a lot more, just in terms of licensing costs, than the cost of NetSuite. When you add on top of that the cost to manage all those applications, the IT infrastructure and the time wasted managing those things, that's the second piece. Of course, with NetSuite, we manage the application. We upgrade it. We update it. We back it up. All you do is run your business. We run the software. So you really need to take those two factors into account as you look at that price tag. The flip side is, and I think the customers will also talk about this, is the productivity gain. The fact that you can see in real time your orders, your shipping, your invoice. There's no integration involved in the system. It is a single system. And so you get not only enormous cost savings from having a single system to run your business, but also great productivity gains. So when customers think about NetSuite, they should think about it as more than a shopping cart. It really is a business management system.
Zach, our listeners, of course, are e-commerce merchants, mainly smaller e-commerce merchants. Anything else you'd like to say to them? Anything else on your mind about NetSuite or e-commerce in general?
Well, I think, the great thing about the promise of the Internet was it could make a small merchant look as big as Amazon.com. But why does Amazon.com look as big as it does? It's because it's a seamless interaction with Amazon when you go to the website. It's seamless pricing. It's seamless inventory. It's seamless shipping. So to deliver on the promise of looking as big as Amazon.com while being 5 people, you need a system as powerful as Amazon.com in terms of the back end. And I believe that's really what we've built with NetSuite. We've delivered a system that enables a small merchant to look at as big as Amazon.com, but for $999 a month. So that's point one. Point two is every e-commerce vendor, even though they're small today, wants to get big. The other beauty of a NetSuite system is as traffic increases, your system automatically scales. You don't have to worry about scaling the system or the back end. We handle all of that. We've got a Fortune 100 data center with 1 million users logging in every quarter. So it's enormously scalable, even though we delivered it at such a low price. So, I guess at the end of the day, what I'd say about NetSuite to small, medium, and large e-commerce vendors is you suddenly have a system as powerful as what Amazon.com has spent $1 billion building for $999 a month.
Okay. Well, the site, for listeners that aren't familiar, the site is netsuite.com, NetSuite, netsuite.com. Zach Nelson, CEO of NetSuite, we want to thank you for your time today, sir.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
That's all the time we have for this week's e-commerce conversation. I hope you enjoyed it. Please tune in next week for another new episode.